which is a web series talk show where we chat about issues that are important to the community and our families. It's where we can learn from each other, support one another, and encourage others to build a strong, positive community together. It's sort of like it takes a village, which is one of the things that I really love about our South Asian culture. I'm Kalbinder, and I'm a Gen I, which is Generation Immigrant. More on that a little later. I'm married to a white dude, and I have a whole wheat little boy, which he gets brown from me, and he gets a little bit white from my hubby. I'm also a life coach, and I write a culturally sensitive advice column called Dear Didi. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be answering questions today. Let me introduce you to our wonderful co-hosts. So happy to have all of you guys here today. First of all, I'd like to introduce Rabia, who is a Pakistani-Canadian lovely lady. She has 3 wonderful kids, and she is the creator of the Goodness Movement. Thanks for being here.
Thanks. So excited to be here, Kalbinder. Thank you. As you mentioned, I was born and raised in Toronto, and still have a very strong connection to my Pakistani roots. And so a lot of my life has been spent kind of trying to find that fine balance between the 2 cultures, getting the best from both worlds and putting them together. And now as a mom of 3, I spend a lot of time making sure that my children are also able to find that balance and love both parts of their identities. As well, I work very closely with newcomer Canadians, helping them with their struggles in settlement, and kind of helping them become successful Canadians themselves. And I think a big part of that is also helping them understand that they don't have to leave their previous cultures or previous homes completely. Come here and take the best of both and create a new identity for yourself in your new home. So I'm hoping that'll help with a lot of the discussion today. Thank you.
Absolutely. And that's very important work. So thank you for doing that. Next we have Aisha, who's a Bengali Canadian. She is currently single and she lives downtown, and she's pursuing a career in healthcare. Aisha, thanks for being here.
Of course. Thank you so much. As Kalbinder mentioned, I'm a Bengali Canadian. However, I'm a fairly westernized Bengali Canadian. I largely grew up in Toronto. But in my 20s, I've mostly stayed on my own, and I've traveled through the States and the Caribbean and lived in London, Ontario. So I'm here now.
Wonderful. Well, we're very happy to have you here. Next up, we have Harpreet, who is a fellow Sikh feminist, educator, and she has a stunning voice. I was very fortunate enough to be at her first recital, which was sold out, by the way, which was no surprise to me at all. And she's married, and she's an active member of the community. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Kalbinder. And I also was born in England. My parents are from India, and then we all moved to Canada, and I grew up here. And again, just like both of my co-hosts are saying, I grew up in Canada and recognized and figured out my identity through this, and my music was something that my parents instilled in me to keep the culture alive, and hopefully I'm looking forward to this talk today.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for being here. So now let's get right into it. What's a Gen I? You guys probably haven't heard this term before. Because I made it up. Okay, so don't look it up in any Webster dictionary or anything like that. But it really is where children are born here and they are raised from, their parents are from a different birth country. Pretty much what we're all talking about. And they have struggles between the 2 cultures as well. And it's a term that I think needed to be created to describe what we're all talking about and what we're dealing with on a regular basis. I was born here in Canada and born to immigrants from India. So ladies, why don't you go and talk a little bit about your experiences about being a Gen I?
Oh yeah, so I think my parents worked really hard to make sure that the culture was instilled in me, and I was very lucky to live in an extended family with my grandparents, and therefore that whole Punjabi, I learned my Punjabi through my mother and my grandparents, and I'm so happy that I did.
You're very lucky.
I can speak and I can talk that language. When I went back to India, because my parents had taught me music, when learning Indian classical music, I did kirtan at the Gurdwara. when I went back, it was really bizarre because I felt that I had more of the culture within me than they did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just remember distinctly that they wanted to listen to like these English songs, like, you know, especially the English songs within the Hindi songs, and I'm like, I hate that song. You know, like I really want to, like, you know, and I wanted to say, no, I actually like the classical stuff, and I really like the pure traditional piece, and so that, so I just feel more fortunate that I had this opportunity to be raised here.
Yeah.
And when I went to school, like, I mean, that's where you would feel a little bit, you'd feel those experiences that were different. Like, I remember once when my brother and I lugged our vaja and tabla to school to show, like, we wanted to be a part of this musical talent show, and our music teachers completely didn't understand what we were doing, because it was a completely different type of music, or, you know, other different things, or the idea of a family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's only like you know, the immediate parents and the children, like, you know, and I'm like, but I lived with my grandparents, right? Like the whole idea. So things like that, like where it comes to my friends, like it was a lot of my friends were immigrant parents. Like they may not have been Indian or didn't have Indian parents like me, like my Yugoslavian parents. So I guess they almost understood, like, it just,
absolutely.
the friends that I picked.
Yeah.
Great. And I think it's important to note also that we happen to be South Asian, but many immigrants from around the world who come to Canada, they go through similar experiences.
Exactly.
I suppose, of
Yugoslavian, Polish, you know, Italian,
of course,
Greek. So yeah, absolutely.
My experiences, I mean, were great, very similar to yours actually, Harpreet. But growing up, I mean, I remember up until grade 9, when I was in a completely kind of like white neighborhood, white school, and constantly trying to hide that identity, as if I was going to try to wipe the brown off of my face somehow, and constantly, like, you know, having, when my mom would come, you know, speak to me in Urdu at school, and I'd be like, no, like, why, like answering in English, or you know, why do you have to come in Shawar Kameez when you come grab me and stuff like that. But once I hit high school, it was like a complete change, and I met all these people that were so proud of who they were, and it was this complete twist in me, and I wanted to know everything Pakistani, everything South Asian. I needed to kind of embody that completely. And my parents, you know, growing up, it was like, you know, school will teach you English, school will teach you about Canadian culture, you need to learn this at home, and we're not allowed to speak English. We had to speak Urdu because it was going to be, you know, you'll learn it, but you're not going to learn Urdu, right? So I think that really helped me shape who I am now, and help me with my children, and hopefully they'll get the language, and they'll get all that from me and my husband as well. So
That's great. And you know, I had the similar experiences that you did too, with my mom doing the salwar kameez and all that stuff, and it's just like, please don't wear that, you know, like do not embarrass me and stuff. But, you know, it took me a lot longer, right? And I think that everybody is at different stages in coming up with their own identity. And so I found my identity when I came here to Toronto, because diversity was everywhere and it was celebrated everywhere, which was wonderful. So speaking of diversity, in the South Asian community, there are lots of different perspectives and viewpoints. And as a writer of the Dear Didi column, we have questions that are being asked by Gen Is all the time. So I wanted to talk about a particular question and really get your take on it, about what your experiences were with regards to this question, and what advice you would give to them as well. So let's get started. It's children born to immigrant parents feel that they don't fit into either culture. Sound familiar, guys? I feel like I'm a misfit, like I don't belong anywhere. When we visit family in India, or even with uncles and aunties here, I feel like I'm constantly falling below expectation. Not like you, Harpreet, you know, a few of us are not right there. Like, I am not desi enough. But then when I visit my friend's home, I don't fit in there either. Their parents ask me about my exotic background, though I was born here. So what do you think, ladies? What advice would you give to her?
Well, I would say most definitely you need to work at finding that balance for yourself. There's no formula at how desi you need to be, and how much Canadian you can be.
Absolutely.
I think for every single person is different. I think my experiences were a lot like her, where you know, I was trying so hard to kind of embody everything Pakistani, and then when I went to Pakistan, it was the same. It was like, wow, you're really brown. Like everything you do, like you only want to eat the traditional food. You only want to go to, and it was the same thing. And here too, I find it was really hard for me sometimes to fit into either group. I wasn't from Pakistan myself, so I couldn't fit into that group because they were always talking in Urdu with each other, always hanging out, always doing. And then at the same time, I couldn't go hang out with completely Canadian people because it just wasn't my interest. It was like, by Canadian I mean like completely born and raised here friends. So I had to find that balance for myself and be able to be that unique person that I can fit in here when I want to, fit in here when I want to, and still be true to myself and not have to give up my culture because I feel like I need it to fit in or act differently. So I think the advice is not to go based on what other people tell you. Every single person is going to have a very different formula as to what works for them and their families, and to find that and be true to yourself.
That's great.
Yeah. And I really appreciate you saying that, Rabia, because when I reflect honestly within myself, I come to realize that very often the cases I haven't quite found that niche. I've gone through my 20s, and there were certainly times when I felt that I don't quite belong in the Canadian culture, and I'm certainly not very Bengali in the traditional sense. So where do I fit in? And for me, it's figuring it out each step of the way. And I'll think of an advice and you can come back to me.
And it's so interesting as we were growing up, when we're looking at the curriculum that we were taught that, yes, the Europeans discovered America, and that somehow being from South Asia or you're a lesser of a person. And so we have a lot of that, and all through because of colonialism, we have there was a lot of internalized oppression that we have for ourselves. And I think the best way to get out of that is recognize our role models. Like I used to feel that, embarrassment when I was growing up and stuff. And, and then there's my friend Gurpreet. She moved in from Africa. Yeah. And she moved to Canada, and she was so proud of who she was,
Awesome.
And she's like, I feel so proud when I walk with my father in turban in the mall. And I just looked at it. It was a new perspective for me. And I just was like, wow, I'm so amazed. And I look at my parents and I was like, yeah, I'm really proud of them too. And so when I had a role model, when you have those role models you can look up to, where you see like, like I can see myself there. Because, in television, in all these different areas, you don't see yourself. You're the taxi driver, or you're the 7-Eleven owner, or, whatever have you. And now you're seeing yourself in all these different roles. Like even in my education field, I tried to create a program for mentors for young women, right?
It's so important.
Young women mentors of various faith backgrounds and various abilities and various identities, and I think that's the support that we need to be able to provide our youth out there, to say that we do have a very, very who you are, you should be proud of who you are, and once you recognize what is it that you like, what it is that you love, then just go for it.
Right. And you know what? And that's what Real Life Talks is really all about. All of us have been talking about how difficult it was sometimes growing up, and feeling like you're alone, that you're not the only person. And to your point, Harpreet, about the role models, if we don't see the role models on TV or as teachers, as business people, people that are being recognized for doing good work for the community and Canada at large, it was very difficult for us to be able to be proud of our culture, because but now you're seeing more faces that look like us, and the values that are being instilled, regardless of if you're a businessman or a businesswoman or, an educator like yourself. It's nice. It's nice to know that, hey, we're playing a part in making Canada great as well. Yeah. And that's my identity, and that's how I'm contributing,
And not to lessen people's experiences out there. Like, racism exists, and we have to recognize that it does exist, and that there are systemic differences in this whole system, even in Canada, as great as it is.
Yes.
And yet, as long as we know how to work through that, and know where our supports are, and know, how much you can push, and sometimes, I think that's definitely beneficial as well. And recognize that this is all, a work in progress.
Absolutely. And what you're saying about the resources, that is something that we're going to be putting down on Real Life Talks as well, the website, because I think that you're right. We need to be able to go to where we can get the support that we need and to be able to be heard as well. So just wrapping up here, and I just wanted to say that if you are curious about the original question and answer, please go to our website, Real Life Talks, in order for you to be able to see it. Also, as you can tell from our co-hosts, everybody has a very unique characteristics within their family dynamics. And really, in the end, our family is just doing their best with the resources that they have available, and they want to support us. So really, communication is the key, and it really helps to know both sides of the situation and the issue. So, which brings us to our next segment, which is Dear Dee Dee Recommends. Each week, we will be putting a spotlight on a local business in our community that is run by a woman entrepreneur. They help to inform us and educate us and believe in giving back to the community. Today, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my fellow co-hosts, lovely Rabia, awesome Aisha, and fantastic Heartbreed, by providing them with a little gift. So I'm going to give this to you. All of you guys can open it.
Aww.
You know, so thank you.
Thank you.
That's so sweet.
So yeah, open it, rip it all apart, guys. Come on,
Crazy.
Yeah. I know.
Never
Is
get
that
over gifts.
is that exactly what you wanted?
Canadian,
Oh, it
Canadian
absolutely
summers. Canadian summers.
Well, I wanted to tell you that it is, yep, you guessed it, an aluminum and paraben-free deodorant. And so the reason why I wanted to share this with you is because I have a history of breast cancer in my family. And if I knew then what I know now, I think I would have made different choices when it came to products and things like that. So I didn't have any idea that aluminum was actually a contributing, found in deodorant, was a contributing factor or linked to breast cancer. So I want you guys to use this in good health.
Nice.
You know, because we definitely are very happy to have you participate in all of this stuff. And also, speaking of Arbonne products, it is all formulated under the strict European guidelines. They don't use over 1,000 ingredients, which are banned, which is fantastic. Like the parabens, the carcinogenics, the aluminum, and all of that stuff is not found in any of the products. And besides this, I like to give each of you guys a gift pack as my thank you to you. So you can choose one of these. This is our anti-aging product line. And this, I know, Rabia, darling, I know you like your lipsticks and your makeup.
Thank you.
So this is, you know, foundation and all of those kind of lovely things. And here is also a nutrition pack. So don't worry, you don't have to choose it right now. But if you, the viewers, would like to have one as well, feel free to go to the website, Real Life Talks, and that way you can figure out which one chose which, and you too can win yourself a gift pack. So thank you very
Thank you
much,
so much,
ladies.
Lavender.
No,
This is great.
thank you. Just to wrap up, I just wanted to say thank you very much for watching. We would love to hear from you. If there's a question that you want us to answer or you want our perspective on, please drop us a line. You can go to reallifetalks.com. And also, if you like what you see, please share on Twitter and Facebook. Join us next time when we share ourselves with you in order for us to build a strong, positive community together. Until next time, speak up and listen. Thank you.